You are now watching Footy Prime, the podcast, hosted by Danny Dicchio, Craig Forrest, and James Sharman.
Well, there's no point even trying now, is there? We just crushed the introduction, and Wong over there, Spike Edney as we call him, wasn't even recording, for Christ's sakes. Welcome back to a new year of Footy Prime. James Sharman, Craig Forrest, Danny Dicchio, Spike Edney. Spike Edney, you may ask, who is he? Well, he is the quiet man behind Queen. Does all the keyboards for Queen for many, many years, but no one knows who he is. So he is our Dan Wong. Although Dan Wong's got a personality that perhaps would belie that role in this band. He's more Freddie Mercury. But still, anyway, fellas, welcome back. How was Christmas, the
Great.
New Year, and the first, 13 days of January?
So far, so good.
Still standing?
Yeah. It's mild.
It's milder, right?
Yeah. Global warming, I'm all for it.
It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big fan. I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah.
We should use our platform to really promote the advantages of global warming.
That's right. Yeah. All heard it. Just
No.
get that oil out of the ground.
I'm fed up with celebrities and all that palaver trying to.
You didn't enjoy the Golden
Smell.
Globes?
New wave. What's going on in the world?
You don't
Climate control.
You don't like opinions?
No, I much prefer Ricky Gervais's opinions than the actors and all that.
That was great, wasn't it? You see, I hate award shows with a passion because it's just
Yeah.
this self-grandizing, backpadding crap. But if Ricky Gervais is going to host it, I'm going to watch it.
Is that because you've never been given an award show?
Exactly. I've got a big chip on my shoulder about this.
Yeah, if you won an award, he'd be the first one out there.
I love the awards,
just-
yeah.
Hey, listen, we can't all make the Wall of Fame at BMO Field, Deej.
Sharp, yeah, it's true. But if you were to be given an award, who would you first thank?
Who would I first thank? You, probably.
Thanks, that's great.
Yeah. it'd
For
be-
what?
I don't know exactly, but I'd probably thank Deej.
Just for being
Just for the
Deej.
sake of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family will be sitting there in the front
Yeah,
row,
yeah.
you know, all proud, tears in their eyes. I want to just, before I begin, it's been quite the journey getting to this point, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but it wouldn't have happened without Danny Dicchio. So,
I'd be in bits on the floor or at home.
Yeah. It's all about the 24th minute goal.
yeah, it began there.
That's what alleviated me to my stardom today.
Did you see, by the way, on Twitter, we posted an old shot of the Footy Show way back when I did an event this
Yes.
past weekend.
Yeah, thanks for
and
that.
it was Deej, KJ, and myself, and it was only probably 2008 around there somewhere,
2007,
maybe
I think.
7.
Yeah.
And we look great, by the way, but the pants,
Yeah.
we had wearing these like flary pants, and like
jeans, yeah.
within a decade or so, we're into this tight pant era, which I despise. And they look so comfortable,
Yeah.
didn't they?
They're gonna come
That
back.
shows off your curves, that's why.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I've got childbearing hips.
Yeah, you want to have something loose. Bring back the loose fashion.
I'm not a fan of tight pants.
Yeah.
They're just not good.
Like the jerseys, the football jersey. Remember them back in the 90s?
Yeah, baggy.
Baggy.
Yeah.
Baggy shorts.
The old Liverpool jerseys are hanging off everybody.
And now you go to just rec league football, and everyone's wearing these tight shirts, and
Yeah.
they shouldn't be wearing these tight shirts because they're fat
It's
bastards.
it's not doing any favours to a lot of
No.
the players out there. Having
No.
to put their beer bellies, tuck them in.
Yeah.
I was watching the NFL last night, and the guys like
Speaking of
scrapping
bellies.
the offensive line. I was like, half of these fellas can't even tuck their stomachs into their shirts.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of these guys, and you see them like, I saw Terry Bradshaw, obviously the Steelers legend. He's been doing broadcasting for years.
Yeah.
And I think they were announcing Jimmy Johnson entering the Hall of Fame, and he stood
that's
up.
right.
Terry Bradshaw is massive now.
Massive.
Massive.
That's what I noticed,
unit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And why not? Obviously he's been retired for a long time, but I mean, you fellas done pretty well post career. You're both looking in half decent shape.
It's our body types.
When you're 6'5", it's hard to get fat.
Harder.
Harder.
Yeah, I'm finding it hard. I eat a lot of chocolate.
Yeah.
Plus,
And,
Craig runs 15 kilometres a week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there's that, I suppose.
Yeah.
Top condition.
Jeez.
Well, Deej, you're around football still. Like, you're coaching every single day. It must be hard to get out of shape.
Well, no, it's not hard because when you're a footballer, and Craig will attest to it as well, you can basically eat what you want. You're meant to eat a healthy diet, which is going to help your performance. But at the end of the day, you're burning off so many calories and whatnot through training sessions every day. The workload that you're putting in, it just burns it off, especially at a younger age. As you start to get later on into the later stages of your career, that's when you can start feeling stuff starting to pile on a little bit, and you're getting a little bit heavier and slower. And I think that's when players really start to look at their diets. But I try to eat what I ate when I was playing. I eat a pretty healthy diet anyway. I drink at weekends, but I don't really try to drink during the week unless I've had a stressful day at work, which is getting pretty evident now. So I'm drinking every day. No, I think it's just, as Craig said as well, your body I try to run every day. I go for like a 15-minute run, which is a laboured jog. But it just keeps my heart ticking over.
How are the joints?
They're okay.
Yeah.
What about your bones?
It's actually the joints actually help the bones.
That's what I meant.
They're great, actually. Those big cannons every morning.
But I find if I don't do anything, I wake up worse in the morning. So I've got to keep my body moving in a certain way. I'm on the field for like 4 hours every day with the players anyway, because I help out with one session and then the session after it. So that keeps me up and moving. But as I said, I try to run every day. I get in the gym for at least half an hour, do some kind of exercise, which keeps me ticking over, keeps the brain
Just
fresh
pick up the
as well.
dumbbell and...
No, I don't really do weights or anything no more. I just go for a run and do some like core work, abs, just to keep my back in shape as well, because I've got to look after that. I had 2 operations on my back as well, so I've got to keep everything ticking over.
And what about you, Craig? You've been retired quite a while now. You have no intention of going to the game, do you?
Going to the what?
The game.
No.
No?
No.
You don't need to, though, right? Because you're a relatively naturally
I
fit
think everybody
dude.
needs to. It's good for you.
No, of course
It's
it is.
good for
Of course it
everything.
is. But when you
Good for the
look
brain.
when you look back, do you ever think though back to when you're in your prime and like really like legitimately a fit person? You know, you're playing in the Premier League. You're one of the fittest, even a goalkeeper. You're one of the fittest people in the world.
Even a goalkeeper. Our training was like really intense. It was different. It was very anaerobic,
Yeah, right.
as opposed to these guys who are doing more
Cardio, like
cardio,
aerobic.
longevity. Yeah, aerobic. Yeah, more longevity, sort of stuff like that. But yeah, so if they came over to do our training, which sometimes, did you ever do goalkeeper training just for fun? Yeah. You know,
It is tough. You're on the ground. You're jumping up. You're on the ground. You're jumping up.
Yeah. Yeah, so that they tend to find that difficult. But if we go for like a long run, most goalkeepers struggle.
Yeah.
Except for Ludik McCloskey.
Yeah, he was a beast, I heard.
Beast, 6
Front
foot
of the
6,
pack.
Czech Republic, absolute animal.
Just naturally a monster.
Incredible. We used to tell him, we'd be like me and David James, Shaka Hislop, and a couple of the young guys, Stephen Bywater, we'd be right at the back, which we're totally allowed to be, right, as a goalkeeper. And then there's Ludik right at the front, like just motoring past each other in a 5, 10K run, you name it, he'd be the first.
Did you hate him for it?
Well, we pull him aside. Said, Ludo, you're making us look
Have
really
a word
bad
with yourself, son.
here.
Bring it back a couple of miles.
He used to get some of the young lads coming back off injury or something, and they say, "Oh, you go for a little run. You're going to go with the goalkeeper, Ludik," and they'd be like, "Oh, perfect." And then he'd lap him around the training ground.
Jesus.
These young
That
guys
would kill me mentally.
Yeah,
Actually, at
Yeah, it
TFC,
did.
with our younger players, goalkeepers coming through now, we're seeing a totally different profile now where, like, even in the sprint test, the running test, a lot of these boys, their physical presence and the way they can run, they're like wide receivers now, Craig. You know,
Yeah.
they can obviously catch a ball, they're good profile, good height, but they can fucking run as well, like
Yeah.
properly sprint. And
Yeah.
I don't know if that's going to help them in the long run, because nowadays the modern day goalkeeper obviously has to be able to jump, dive, but he also has to play with his feet as well. And that's the biggest problem we're having with our younger keepers, is trying to integrate them into like possession games with the outfield players to try and get their feet a little bit more comfortable when in possession of the ball. But the profiles, the physical demands of the game, they're really, really high up there.
Are they big boys still? Or,
Big boys, tall boys.
yeah.
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 What is the perfect goalkeeper, like size-wise?
I don't think I've argued with our goalkeeping coaches about this. I don't think there is no perfect goalkeeping size anymore. I think different profiles have different attributes. We look at our first team goalkeeper at Toronto FC, Q, who's not over 6 foot, but a very good shot stopper. Is he going to come out and collect crosses every cross? No. But with the ball in possession, he understands his role as a sweeper. Very, very good. And there's been numerous goalkeepers in the league, in the MLS, that have been under 5'9", 5'10", But that's not to say the taller goalkeepers have a presence and good attributes as well in coming.
Well, remember when the Man United brought in Fabian Barthez?
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't the
Good
tallest.
example,
Yeah, but he was very much a sweeper keeper, and they didn't really need anybody that needed to be a shot stopper. Such they needed somebody at the back. That
Edison now as well at City. He's not the tallest of goalkeepers. He's a good size.
pretty good size.
Pretty good size, but very good with his feet. He's basically their sweeper. He's the controller that kind of conducts what's going on at the back there. They're very, they trust him. The defenders trust him with the ball when playing it back to him because they know that he's the back of the diamond or whatever shape they're playing City in starting another attack or progressing the ball onto the other side.
Yeah, but so the top clubs, I mean, whatever league you're in, the top clubs are using the goalkeeper's distribution as a weapon, right?
Yeah.
More and more now.
Absolutely.
But lower leagues and lower down, perhaps in each league, you're seeing pretty much, goalkeepers still, winging it up the field when they get half the chance. So does a goalkeeper's skill set have to change depending on what team he's on? Do you find that, for example?
Sure, and also the conditions that you're playing on non-league or lower divisions, their pitches aren't brilliant, right? And I think that even Pep, under certain circumstances, is not going to play around the back if the pitch is really bad condition.
Helps that Edison can ping it 100 yards
on
both
open
feet.
things up. Yeah, I think where the game's going at the very top end, I really like what I'm watching. I mean, the teams, Liverpool, Man City, Barcelona, Real Madrid. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time, but the football is really brilliant. We're watching Man City yesterday against Aston Villa. Aston Villa, there's a team that would crush any top amateur side, anybody in the second division, third division, and they're getting crushed. Like they were chasing shadows. Man City toyed with them.
Yeah. Villa's in a bit of trouble though, aren't they?
Yeah,
It
they're in some
seems that
trouble.
way,
Yeah,
right?
but it just shows you the top of the end of the Premier League, even in the bottom.
Yeah.
Yet Villa goes down in that championship, and they would be very competitive. In fact, they came up through it. So,
Do you think the Premier League has got even further apart now, Craig? Because I had this argument with my dad when he was over from England, and we were saying that the bottom place teams are faring even better against the top place teams now. And I said, I don't think so. I said, I think that the top 3 or 4 teams have separated themselves by such a large margin now that on any given day, the likes of City, Liverpool can smash someone 8-9-0.
Oh, yeah.
And in reality, City, they missed 2 or 3 chances yesterday where it could have been another 8 or 9-0. But then I go back to it and I look at teams like Sheffield United, they've just come up. I watch Norwich, who are struggling at the bottom, but they still try to play nice football. They still try to play progressive football, but it's not working for them. They're losing 4-0 at Man United. And maybe, and I don't usually agree with my dad a lot. We butt heads a lot, as you do with your old man. But I've got to think sometimes that like the bottom place teams are getting a little bit further away from those.
But when you say the bottom teams, don't you mean, quite frankly, at this point, it's a 2-team league, right? Really.
Yeah.
With respect to Leicester, who are dropping off a little bit now, we're seeing that. With respect to Leicester, it's Liverpool and it's City, and there's a big gulf, right? And then you got a battle with some teams pretty close, including the Blades, as you mentioned there, who are having this, if not for Liverpool's, unbeaten run, it might be the story. Sheffield United at the moment, right? Yeah. And you got a big, bunch of teams fighting, and then you got, from there it goes down. There's more parity. There's quite a lot of parity, I think, beneath the top 2.
I would even say it's not, and this is what I argued with my dad about. I said it's not just the bottom place teams we're talking about. I think it's more the focus on the central group of teams that have got further away from the top. I think the central group of teams like your Evertons, your Brightons, even Watford are starting to get back into that group because they had a really bad start, are moving further away from the top place teams. And there's kind of Premier League 2 starting to appear.
It is.
Between place 10, where Arsenal are at the moment, and all the way to the bottom. Like, the bottom place teams have gone to Arsenal, or Arsenal have gone to them and got results. Okay, Arsenal are going through a little bit of transition, but I think, as you said, those top 2 or 3 teams have pushed further away from the rest of the Premier League.
Could you argue that during the Invincibles of Arsenal, we could argue that maybe there was the same?
My argument there is that Arsenal drew a lot of games that year. Where you look at Liverpool this year, what have they've won 20 out of 21,
Yeah, out of the last 90 points, they have, I think, 88.
which is crazy. Like,
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
So at what point we've been championing Man City the last few years as being the greatest Premier League team we've ever seen, right? It's debatable, but they're certainly up there.
Yeah.
At what point do we put this current Liverpool team in the same bracket? I mean, 97 points last year wasn't enough. We know that.
Incredible.
But this year, my God, I mean, they just stepped it up further.
Yeah.
And they've got a European Cup to their name.
Yeah, and they've done it with, spending, responsibly.
That's the word,
really.
responsibly,
I mean,
yeah.
outside of Van Dijk, 2 fullbacks, reasonable price. Salah
Van
wasn't
Dijk
overly
looks a
priced.
snip now at 70 million.
Doesn't he? Right? I mean, when you're winning stuff like they can't stop winning now.
Yeah. But,
We talked for years about, they couldn't get a center back. They defensively terrible. The goalkeepers can't seem to get that right, in and out. And then finally they bring in him and
Alisson a few months
Alisson
later,
as well.
right?
Yeah.
And that gives it
But
back.
I think Van Dijk's the one, that, playing with somebody like him in front.
But then you're seeing under Klopp team players keep improving, though. I mean, Jordan Henderson, who you've been quite critical of over the years. I mean, this year, he should get some votes for Player of the Year, quite frankly, the way he's playing and dominating games and playing in different roles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy that was a poor man, Stevie Gerrard. Well, he's got
That's
more
right.
trophies than Stevie Gerrard, right?
Yeah.
Now,
Yes.
listen, I'm never going to compare him to Stevie Gerrard, really, because I'm a big Gerrard fan, but it's at what point do we say this guy is a club legend and should be given a bit of credit finally?
I think and I'll hold my hands up. You have to give him a little bit of credit. I've been critical in the sense that I just never felt that he was a Liverpool player, a Liverpool caliber player. But I look at some of the players Liverpool have signed over the years, some of the terrible midfielders that they've had, and I can't even go through them all now. But you look at what he's done and what he's brought to this team, the togetherness of bringing all the foreign players, like streaming for that one goal of playing the way that Klopp wants them to play, but having that winning attitude week in, week out, which is very difficult to do. I still think if you put Stevie Gerrard in this team,
he walks
in place of Henderson, we're talking about a totally different beast here. But he's in the team at the right time, surrounded by players. Like if you had Salah, Mane, Firmino, who I love Firmino. I think he's one of the top strikers in the world at the moment. With Stevie Gerrard in behind them, you're talking domination for like years.
You can always improve, right? And even the great teams can always improve, but it's keeping that.
But Henderson's surrounded by so much more good players than Stevie Gerrard was. And no disrespect to the players that played with Stevie, but the players that Liverpool have now, they have developed a group of players. They've scouted very well. They've purchased the right type of players. I thought Gini Wijnaldum was fantastic at the weekend against Spurs. Yeah. He's an unsung hero as well. And you look at Gomez,
Didn't
who's
pay
come
much
in
for
as
him
well.
either, right?
No. And you look at Gomez, who's come in next to Van Dijk. They've got so
They've had
many clean
injuries,
sheets
right?
now.
And the depth that's a concern isn't a concern now because you're right. They lose Gomez for much of this season.
Yeah.
Then Matip gets hurt. Then
Lovren
Lovren gets
comes
hurt.
in.
In comes Gomez again, and he's fine, right? Fabinho's been December. Last time we were on this show, we're lamenting this ridiculous schedule for Liverpool in December.
Yeah.
Well, they won every game apart
got
from the
through.
Carabao Cup, which didn't count because it was literally the day after.
Yeah.
It was a C team,
And we're not
kids
even-
team.
we
now.
haven't
That was
even-
impressive after the World Club Cup.
coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they go to Leicester.
Without Fabinho, who's been out hurt the entire time.
Yeah.
It's
Traveling all that way, coming back. I mean, they're just riding on this crest right now, and they're just loving playing football. I mean, it just...
They're happy, right?
They're happy.
There's
How
no,
can
there's
you
no
not be
news
happy?
stories linking players with other clubs.
You don't want
right?
to go
You don't hear
anywhere
that.
No.
And we haven't even spoke about the two horses at fullback as well.
Oh, I know those guys.
Robson and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
What can he become, Beach?
I just
As
think,
an English player?
like, for me, I was arguing with my son Franco at the weekends, and I said, if Trent Alexander is not the fullback,
Your family. You
A lot of arguing here, Danny.
it's great.
Can you imagine the house?
Holy domestics.
Sitting in my living room is like
Should be
we
the
should
Dickie
do it. We should do
reality
a show
show.
from my living room. watching
Yes,
the
we
game.
will.
Can we do that?
That
We'll
would
do
be the
that.
funniest thing ever.
Yes.
He was trying to tell me that Trippier is the starting fullback for England. I'm like,
Okay.
Are you like? What you been smoking? You been smoking something?
Dad's joints?
Trent Alexander-Arnold
Dad's
is the
joints.
fullback for England for the next 15 years. You know?
Oh, and he might, hyperbole is an easy thing to do, right? In football, we know that, and we see these great players come along all the time, right? But there's something about him, right? Trent Alexander, he is just, he does nothing wrong. right? And in attack, with the way the fullbacks have evolved over the years, I can't remember a player, aside from maybe Beckham, who can deliver a ball that well from the right-hand side. He's incredible.
But overall, they're just like, and we spoke about it last year when they were on TV, when we were on TV. Seems like light years ago now,
Doesn't it?
But they're just a joy to watch, Liverpool. You know, some games you're watching and you go, can't wait for this game to be over. It's done. But they're just a joy to watch from minute 1 to 90 minutes, because there's a philosophy of a style of play that when they have the ball, they're looking to always attack. They're looking to unsettle teams and try and provide chances. And then when they don't have the ball, they're very aggressive in trying to win the ball back. And for me, that's football.
Yeah.
You know, that's football. I look at some teams where, like Villa yesterday, they were basically in the Mourinho block from minute 1. You can't play that way against Man City.
Yeah.
You can't play that
And
way
then they
against Man City.
conceded early. And then,
You invite the pressure. You think
But
Man City have never
he
played?
says they should have got something out of that game.
No, but are you telling me Man City have never?
Mourinho.
But you're telling me Man City have never played against a low block before?
Every
So
week, pretty much,
Suddenly
isn't it?
they go, oh shit, we're gonna have to adjust our style of play here. They train against a low block every day.
Yeah. We used to always ask on the show, I ask you guys, okay, how do you play against Man City? You know, you try a low block, you try, your high press, it all fails. How do you play against them? So how do you play against Liverpool? What do you do? If you're an opposing coach, how do you, find a way to get something out of that match?
well, that's a $1 million question. I mean, you just got to try and catch them on a day when you're playing at your very best, and they're maybe not. That's where I thought that the Leicester game for Liverpool after the World Cup might have been an opportunity. Brendan Rodgers at home.
Banana skin for sure.
Yeah. I thought that was a good
Didn't turn out
opportunity.
that way.
Did not turn out that way. They were fully on top.
Leicester were pretty unlucky at Anfield, though. Remember the penalty decision given late on?
I don't remember that at all.
Mane?
No,
Yeah,
sorry.
you do remember that.
No idea.
Yeah.
But there's certain ways when you're approaching playing teams like Man City, Liverpool, or whoever it is, like you have to try and pinpoint their weaknesses. And I look at City, I look at Liverpool, and you can go around the team and go, where is their weakness? Like, are they slow at the back? No. Van Dijk can run 100 meters. Like,
Do you see Gomez track down? He fouled in the end. He fouled. I forget who it was now on the Saturday game, but Gomez, like
he can open up.
a diagonal run, half the pitch, and he caught the guy and fouled him. But the pace of a centre back,
Yeah.
my God, it's ridiculous, right? There isn't a weakness. You're right. You just hope they have an off day, and at some point they'll probably lose a game, but they can now. They can afford that, right? Yeah. And they've earned that right to lose a game or have a bad one.
I think they'll be very upset if they lose a game.
Yeah.
That's in their head now. Just like I think they know that they've won the league, but they want to go out as like the Invincibles. They want to go.
But if they say they wrap
records.
this thing up in March, which is quite possible, right? March.
Oh, yeah.
And they're still in the Champions
Was
League.
it 35 points they need now?
Is that I don't know?
Yeah,
Is that what it is?
35 points they need.
So say it's March or even April, but they're still in the Champions League at that point. Quarterfinals, whatever. They can then focus on Europe, right? And then they can perhaps switch off in the league a little bit. Is that perhaps the only way you're going to see this team drop?
I don't think that's how he works. I don't think that's how Jurgen Klopp works. He wants to win everything. He wants to be in every game.
How many? At some point,
To go unbeaten
that
would
message
be-
must become tough to take, though. I mean, obviously,
No,
not this year. I get that, but I mean, you saw at Dortmund, right? This is a guy, Klopp, who was an absolute legend. He was considered one of the best managers in the world. This team played the best football. They dethroned the great Bayern Munich a couple of times, almost won the Champions League. But then something happened, right? And the message was lost at Dortmund. Happened there. When might that happen here?
Was the message lost, or did they lose a couple?
They lost
They lost
Lewandowski.
Goetze.
That would be something.
Götze.
Yeah, Royce was hurt. All right, fair enough.
Remember when we remember when we
If they
spoke?
lost a few at Liverpool, they lost Van Dijk now.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be ideal, would it?
Salah, Firmino, and Mane. I mean,
If they lost everyone, they would struggle. You're right.
Yeah.
But remember
lost 11
when we
players.
spoke to Spoonie and we spoke about like how the players like don't lose the message, how they keep buying into the message. I think that the players are policing that now. I don't think the message is even coming from Klopp.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's like this internal will to break all kinds of records and win as much as we can with this group of players. Because, as players, even when I played on really good teams where we either won championships or cups, whatever it is, or we were successful, we knew that it wasn't going to last because the top players would always get picked out. But at Liverpool, where are those players going to go, Shams? You're European champions. You're world club
They're a
champions.
destination now,
You're
right?
Premier League champions.
Yeah.
Does Mane want to go to Real Madrid, where Real Madrid
why
are
would
going
he?
for a little bit of transition? I think he's a humble kind of guy to say, this club and this manager gave me my chance to win things.
But I mean, does that kind of club mentality evolve, or are you kind of fortunate having the personalities that will embrace that? And this seems like it's a very likable team, right? They seem like good guys.
Yeah.
Often you don't have that. You see teams that brilliant teams, but they for a year or two, but then eventually the egos get in the way and they explode. Look at Chelsea. They forced out managers, right? That little group, it was almost too powerful, right?
Oh, yeah.
At Liverpool, it might happen, but at the moment it seems that they're all good mates. They love the project, so to speak.
Yeah.
Is that luck, or does that evolve? Does that come from
No,
the
it
top?
evolves, but like Danny says, it doesn't last forever. And they're on the cusp of doing something incredible. I mean, if they could go unbeaten for this season, the amount of points they can get, crushing Arsenal's record, that is in the back, like you say, in the back of the players' minds, and the manager doesn't even have to say anything.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you? I mean, that's what you're...
Winning
That's
helps
what-
as well, huh?
Yes.
To keep that morale and to keep that.
It's easy.
Of course, yeah.
It's easy. When things go sideways a bit, then that's
Yeah.
when you're showing your strength as a manager.
How many great teams full of characters didn't win and it all fell apart, right? Happens all the time, I'm sure, right? But you have you're right, that inner belief. No matter what level of sport you play, you have a good team that wins, has that brotherhood within it, right, so to speak. Sisterhood in the case of, the US women's team. Just that togetherness.
Yeah.
And you need that, right? It's rare that you have a bunch of 11 individuals going out there and winning.
Never.
At least not winning this way. You win, you can
Yeah.
win, and then you can win this way. And it's damn fun to watch, isn't it?
Yeah.
Lots of changes this past Christmas period
Yeah.
in the managerial ranks, right? Like a lot of different. The league looks different now than when we last spoke, right? So you got Nigel Pearson at Watford, Moyes at West Ham, Carlo Ancelotti at Everton, which still just sounds really weird. Arteta at Arsenal, of course, Jose at United,
Spurs.
and of course, Spurs. Yeah. Ole will be leaving United
Yeah.
probably relatively soon. Which do you think has the chance of blowing up, or which has a chance of defining a new era for those clubs? Seems Arteta or Arsenal feels right, doesn't it?
We'll see if they give him some support, and it might take some time to change that. It's obviously Emery was a good manager. There's no question about that, and he's been successful in the past, and he'll be successful in the future as well. But it didn't work there for whatever reason. It just shows you maybe what Wenger was dealing with during his time when he exited, going through this phase that they need to get right. Guys like Pearson at Watford, off to a great start. And really, when you look at his career with his Leicester situation, how well they did at the end of that year. So his winning record
He
right
could have
now,
been Ranieri, if not for his son.
If not for
He basically built that Leicester team.
yeah.
Him and Shakespeare, right? And they're back
That's
together
right.
again now at Watford.
And they've only signed to the end of year. So the big
it's
question for
Watford,
Watford,
isn't it?
which is, I think they've made the right decision, their best decision in a long time, because we know the Pozzo family.
Yeah.
Will they let Pearson, who's doing himself the world of wonders by showing Premier Leagues that probably have interviewed him to take him on, that he can still coach at the highest level? He's done a fantastic job with this Watford team. I've looked at a couple of interviews by the players saying this is exactly what we needed. We needed a British-style manager to come in and implement some structure, some discipline to this group, and it's worked well so far. And even if he doesn't get the job and the Pozzos decide to bring in another Italian coach who is going to last, or a Spanish coach last for 3 months, I think this role is going to be perfect for Pearson for his future. Arteta, I'll go back to Arteta. I've definitely seen a change in their style of play. But again, we
Bit
go
more
back
hunger,
to
right?
we go back to the message of when you're winning or staying in games. The likes of Aubameyang, who got sent off at the weekend, Lacazette, do they continue to buy into it? He can do it with the younger players for sure, but the older, experienced guys, they're the ones you've got to win over.
And like Craig said, will he get support from the board?
He needs a couple
in
of transfer
January,
windows,
and then obviously next summer.
but definitely a change in style of play, which is pleasing. For
They've shown
Arsenal
that they have
fans.
got a bit of fight in
a little
them,
bit
right?
more hunger,
Which
a little bit more.
must
Yeah.
piss off Arsenal fans. Like, where the hell was that fight before?
Yeah.
You talk about, at Liverpool, how the group is, that the players are
Together,
kind
yeah.
of, where's the group at Arsenal?
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't exist.
Well, they lack leaders.
Clearly. Yeah.
My big worry is Ancelotti at Everton.
For who? Everton or Ancelotti?
For Everton.
Yeah, don't think it'll work.
I love Ancelotti. I'm a Milan fan. He was a fantastic player back in the day, but I just think I really feel that he's past it now. and we saw him at Bayern lose the group. There was questions over his training sessions and his approach. Napoli didn't really do too well there.
And they're very different teams to Everton.
Very
right?
different
They have
teams.
star power. They have great players. Everton is a mess because of the guys they brought in the last 2 or 3 years. There's been no game plan, it seems, right?
And I think that they want to be competing in the top 6. They've spent that way, whether it's been intelligently in bringing the right players in. They've got a couple of nice players there, but I'm worried for Carlo Ancelotti and Everton. I think that could be a big bust.
He loves obviously working still. I mean, going by when he took on the Napoli job, and he was out of work for a while, wanted to give it at least one more crack. I think he wanted that to last a little longer than it did. And then he takes this Everton job, which is, like Danny said, it's an interesting one, really, but a difficult one at the same time. Big challenge.
At what point, do careers get tarnished? I mean, Ancelotti, obviously a legend, he's won, so many trophies, Champions Leagues, right? But the last number of clubs, it hasn't worked out. A bit like Jose Mourinho. At what point does the reputation get tarnished and he's remembered more for the failures than the successes?
I guess it depends on what club he ends up at and where he's successful, but he's been successful many times.
Can't take away those Champions League trophies.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it'd be easy for him. Here's a guy, they just love the game so much, and they love the Saturdays and the buzz. And remember, Bobby Robson was asked, at his age, why does he still do it? And he said, I just don't want to be at Sainsbury's shopping groceries at 3 o'clock on a Saturday. I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. I don't want to do that either.
Yeah.
Is that right? Ancelotti spends a lot of his time in Vancouver, Craig.
Yeah, his wife is Canadian, right?
Yeah,
I
he's
believe.
good friends with Victor Montagliani.
So
he
he
spent some
likes
time in the
fishing
coffee
and
shops
stuff,
in
yeah.
Vancouver.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His
imagine
wife's
that.
from there, right?
Yeah. Imagine walking down the street in Vancouver and seeing Carlo Ancelotti. It'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and hardly anybody would recognize him.
No, exactly.
You know.
I mean, it's funny. He's a fascinating guy. He's got interests outside football as well, right? He loves
Yeah.
the game. We know that, but he's a big motorcycler,
Yeah.
cyclist, not cycler, motorcyclist.
Cyclist.
Thanks, Ed.
There's no pedaling though.
Fuck you.
But yeah, we'll see. I mean, if he's a big blow up, we'll find out. But
He'll end up in Vancouver. That's where he'll end up when he's finished.
Vancouver or Vancouver Whitecaps?
No, Vancouver.
That'd be a coup, wouldn't it?
yeah.
That announcement.
Yeah.
Got Carlo
you never
Ancelotti.
know.
Let's hope not, because we're a big fan of their current coach.
Yes. Dos Santos.
Yeah, exactly. So British managers, you were talking about Nigel Pearson, right? It's nice to see an English manager get a chance. I thought it'd be Gary Megson getting their next opportunity. He's available now. In fact, it's funny. The whole this whole Harry and Meghan leaving,
Mexit.
right? Mexit, right? I thought it was Gary Megson had got a job in Europe.
Oh, that would.
I thought
is that what you saw?
Mexit was Gary Megson, nothing to do with Meghan.
Okay, we need to ask Danny what his dad thinks about Mexit.
Or Brexit.
Or either.
We
What is he thinking?
No comment.
What did your dad say? What did your dad say about Harry? He must have had an opinion.
My dad doesn't like the Royals.
I didn't think he would.
No, he's
He's
Italian.
all for Brexit, though, my dad.
Was he?
Most
Yeah.
dads are. I
No,
find.
but my dad's an immigrant. My dad's an immigrant
That's
to
true,
England.
yeah.
He hasn't got an English passport.
Yeah, he's the type of guy they want to kick out.
Yeah. So I said, Dad, you're voting for Brexit. You're going to get the old...
Yeah.
Okay.
There comes a certain point in an old man's life where they lose their mind. My dad's lost his, and he'll be listening right now. So, Dad, yes, you have lost your
Yeah,
mind.
but he'll forget it by then.
Yeah, hopefully.
They forgive easier too.
I'm not sure about that. There's some
Yeah, I don't
resentment.
know about that.
There's some deep-seated resentment there, I think. Yeah, had a few pints with my old man this Christmas as well, and comes a certain point where you realise it's just no point arguing anymore. He's not going to change his mind.
No way.
That'll be us one day.
Yeah.
Not far off, actually. To be honest with you.
No, the worst is when your missus says to you, you're so like your dad.
Oh, I know.
Oh,
I hear myself sometimes too, thinking, "Whoa, scale it back, Charmin.
Yeah.
Scale it back."
She's like, do you not see it or hear it? I'm like,
Yeah.
no. Of course. What are you talking about? She's like, there you go.
how about you start looking like your dad?
Yeah, I know. I look like my old man already.
With the beard, I got to tell you, Danny's beard is magnificent right now. You look a bit like Roy Keane,
Roy Keane.
Yeah, nearly.
right? We'll get a picture. It's obviously on YouTube. We'll see that later this week. But we'll get a picture after this podcast because it's groomed nicely.
Groomed.
And the wife's okay with it?
Yeah, no, she likes it.
Really?
She's about the only one that does like it.
You look very like Canadian. You look like almost like a lumberjack.
Listen, I've been here 12 years now.
He is
Yeah.
Canadian, Craig.
Yeah.
Well, of course he is Canadian. Trevor Sinclair wondered what happened to your
Yeah,
accent.
he did.
Yeah.
A lot of my mates do.
I had a beard going over Christmas. My Christmas
And we
beard.
still can't
the-
understand him.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Subtitles on you.
Me and Wonger watched Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels just so he could maybe
Vinnie
understand you
Jones.
a little bit better.
The boys at TFC, like some of the coaches were saying, we watched Snatch over Christmas. It's like, that's one of my favourite movies. They went, we didn't fucking understand a word they were saying. I said, well, it's very hard. Like this London Cockney accent, a lot of South London guys in there, but also the Pikies, the Gypsies. I said, Brad Pitt was amazing in that movie, but they couldn't understand a word. I said, that's a big underground of London is the Gypsies. Like, I used to live near a Gypsy caravan park as well.
Yeah.
They were funny times, but they were ruthless.
Speaking of that, we had at the training ground, we had Big Dave at the door. He was our bouncer, security guy. Big Dave, big softy. He was awesome. Anyway, so that down, they made that training ground at West Ham. They go down the end of the road. There's a T-junction. You can't go anywhere. You either go into the training ground. It's dodgy. Like, you can't even spin around. So the caravan of gypsies come down the end of the road, take a left into the training ground, and they stop right there. And Big Dave comes in to meet them. And, what's going on? And they went, well, we took the wrong turn. We need to go in there. We just need to turn our caravans around.
You can't let them do it, no.
So we opened up the gates. 7 caravans go in. They just drove to the back of the training ground and parked.
Planted up, yeah.
Just parked
No
up.
way.
Yeah.
And wouldn't leave.
That's what they do.
It wouldn't
They
leave.
refused to leave.
Refused to leave.
So they were actually on the fields.
On the fields. Yeah. And Big Dave, can you imagine all the management showing on Big Dave? He's like, oh,
Big
Harry.
Dave, what have you done?
Yeah.
Where's all these
What-
players come
so
from?
what happened?
They did a deal with them in a school adjacent to the training ground. They did a deal with them in the school that they would place them there and give them 4 months or something like that.
So like the football club's more important than the school, is what you're saying here.
That's England.
Yeah,
for you.
something, yeah, exactly.
exactly. But it's West Ham, damn it. They're back in the Prem.
But
Not these kids' education.
any
don't worry about
ball
that.
for 4 months that went over
Gone.
the hedge, you never see the ball
Really?
again. Oh yeah. Oh, you idiots! Kicking the ball over there. Little kids would take the ball and run.
I lived in this small village in England, and every summer there'd be what they called the horse fair, would roll into town. It was just that, and the village green, all these gypsies would show up with their caravans, right, and hang out, right, and of course, we're all warned about this, lock your doors. They were great lads. We'd play football and cricket with them, and my parents would be saying, so where have you been all day? The village square, playing cricket with the gypsies. Like, what? You've done what?
But they're different
they were
gypsies.
great lads.
They're travelling gypsies.
They're travelers.
As
we
opposed
had
to
different gypsies living near me. They were
urban gypsies.
Urban gypsies
Like
living there.
Tom Hardy's character in Peaky Blinders.
yeah.
No, he wasn't.
No,
he was
not
Jewish.
They was Jewish. No,
was
like
Jewish.
like Brad Pitt's character
Yeah.
in Snatch.
But I mean,
They
Peaky
lived there
Blinders,
and
though,
they stayed there.
they're all
No,
of gypsy
the
stock,
gypsies in
though,
Peaky
right?
Blinders are Romano gypsies. They're different.
Are they? Okay, so they're from.
Roman gypsies, yeah.
Okay.
Danny,
Well, they should
Danny-
shouldn't get into
Danny
that.
knows his travelers.
Yeah.
He does know his apparently, yeah. Dan Wonger's
Yeah.
just.
Dad, you look like a little bit of a
Oh,
traveller as well.
I've been a traveler. My whole family is travelers.
Hey?
Where haven't you travelled to, Wong? Jesus.
But we don't talk about it.
Good
Too many arrest warrants.
Tyson Fury, a very famous gypsy.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, he's a Roman gypsy.
He's Roman gypsy too. Okay. Well, now you have it.
There you go.
I know. They were not bad fast bowlers, I remember that much. The travelling gypsies, not the Roman gypsies.
Apparently.
Yeah. All right, we should probably move on here. Obviously, as it's a new year, now we're a little bit dated here, but, let's talk about New Year's resolutions, not either for yourself personally or within the game. Do you have any that jump out, that things you're going to expect or hope or try for this year in 2020? This is your idea, so you better have one.
No, I was sending it out to you fellas to see whether you had any New Year's resolution.
Well, this would
you
be a
know
good
what?
segment, then.
I think New Year's resolutions are a load of bullshit. I really do.
That's it.
I think
I'm glad you proposed
back,
this
no,
segment.
back in the day, everyone used to be like,
So we can start another
I
argument.
know, another one.
everyone used to be so linked into this New Year's resolution. I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop sugar. I'm going to work out. It lasts for fucking 2 weeks, and then everyone's back to. It's like the gym memberships.
Yeah, I know.
That's why they push so much in January. After the third week in January, the gyms are empty. So you should try and stick to a lifestyle that you can live throughout the year, not just in fucking January. So yeah, you want to cut back on certain
Is
things.
this one of your pre-game speeches to your teams?
No,
Sounds like it.
no.
This is all bullshit.
just lay
Everything
into
you
it.
learn is bullshit.
Yeah. Your family must be just amazing.
Oh
Around there.
yeah, we argue all the time. It's fantastic.
Danny's getting
And
very
then,
angry.
and then he's all philosophical like that. You know, just live a lifestyle. and it's like
All bullshit.
all
But, you
over
know,
the place.
But it's the Italian way, right? The Italian families get together and they fight and then they kiss and they love each other.
We all hug each other at the end.
Yeah, precisely.
Hey,
Don't
the
talk to
English-
each other for a
English
couple of
aren't
months.
much. English aren't much better.
No, yeah,
Eh? They love a domestic.
yeah.
How was your family experience this Christmas?
Oh,
Great.
speaking of domestics,
This is your first time in Vancouver for Christmas in
since 1986.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Do you now know why it was your last Christmas?
Yeah,
since 1986?
exactly. No, it was good. It was really good. I saw a bunch of family around that time that I hadn't seen at Christmas for decades. So it was great seeing some
Get a bit of
cousins.
skiing
and-
done? Did you ski?
No, I didn't have any time for that. No, I wasn't in the right area. The Lower Mainland. Well, saying that, you don't have to go very far to you in Vancouver, but no, I didn't have any time. Then went on to the island to see my dad, Vancouver Island. So spent some time out there. Didn't see Megan and Harry, but they were around.
Oh, they were on the island. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Was it
Have they
was
got a
it the
place there?
Buzz?
I have no idea.
Was it? I think got a place. No, they're renting right now. Got Airbnb. Is it the Buzz though? Around the island? Oh, guess who's coming? Harry
No.
and Meghan.
No.
No one cares.
There's only one buzz
and
on
I think
that
that's
island.
probably why they liked it.
I
'cause,
know.
mean, it's-
Nor should they care. Who gives
There's only one
flying
buzz on
crap?
that island.
yeah.
One day we'll get into a discussion on the Royals and how utterly ridiculous it is. But anyway,
Make
that'll
sure that
upset some
I'm away
people.
for that one.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Deesh.
No, I think most of our listeners would be they wouldn't be overly. Well, I don't know. I might be wrong. Whether would they be pro royal or middle mix?
It's a
Or,
load of nonsense. You ask me.
yeah.
Utter nonsense. I watched The Crown. I can base that on an informed opinion.
Good for you, Sharp.
Yeah.
Well,
Damn it.
to be fair, that whole thing seems to be getting a little bit softer opinions in North America than in England.
In
They've
England,
been
yeah.
hit pretty hard as far as what they're doing, and
It's quite amazing, actually, the access they've got. Really.
Yeah.
You know, and the stuff they're outing. I mean, the Royals must have signed off on it, I guess, to a certain point, right?
Going back to New Year's resolutions, I fobbed it all off. Have you got any New Year's resolutions, Sharp?
Football-wise, you know what? I have one, and it's just to enjoy this year because this might be the best year as a football fan I've ever experienced. Right? So Liverpool back at the top, winning the Premier League.
Yeah.
Who knows what happens in Europe? England have a fantastic team, I think, for Euro. One of the favourites. This could be the greatest year I've ever experienced as a football fan. Liverpool champions, dare I say it, England European champions. So I'm going to just sit back and enjoy it, not overthink it, which, you know, is never difficult with you two
Just
guys.
overdrink it.
Overdrink it, yeah, exactly. Well, I'm quitting sugar and joining a gym.
Oh,
No, I'm not.
you're one of those guys.
No, I'm not. What about you, Craig? Do you have any, or football-wise or otherwise?
no.
No? Oh, this is a great segment. Thanks,
No.
Deech, for suggesting it. Hey, Ed, you.
Oh, sorry.
Any,
What you got
any-
What's
there?
that? Okay.
Give us some.
Uh,
Enlighten us.
Now that Harry and Meghan are moving to
Vancouver Island.
Canada,
Yeah.
I think it's about time that another half something marries into the family. I'm going to take a shot at Prince Andrew. I still look pretty good. I could pass as an 18-year-old, boy
Asian girl?
from Asian girl.
Or 13. Yeah.
I think you have a chance.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for.
That Jeffrey Epstein
got
line,
like
by
a-
the way, but Ricky Gervais was fantastic, wasn't it? Yeah.
You got a
It really was.
13-year-old boy's mom.
I absolutely do.
Andrew might.
Look,
like
Andrew
that.
might get confused, and I might like it. A little soft touching on the fanny.
It's a new open-minded
His hands
Dan
wouldn't be
Wong.
rough, would they?
No, not at a hard day's
Soft
work.
hands,
That cat.
Yeah, he doesn't do any dishes.
Well, this would be intended to be a great segment. Jesus Christ. With sugar and pedophiles. Great. That's great. This is good.
Good resolution.
Yeah, that's going on the description, the show description today. Sugar and pedophiles.
Yeah.
Or is it pedophiles? You know, we over here it's pedophiles, right? Over in England it's pedophiles,
Yeah.
right? The E is
Potato,
pronounced
potato.
differently. Yep. All right, moving on. I actually have one more. I think if I was going to suggest a resolution for anyone in football, it'd be Paul Pogba, right? Just to give himself a shake, to remember what he is first.
He might get injured though if he shakes himself.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, is this becoming a player who's just undergone more surgery after almost breaking back into the team. Is this one of those players who I know he's a World Cup winner, it's tough to criticize the guy, right? But isn't going to reach the heights that we thought he could reach? Because right now he's an absolute disgrace.
Yeah. I feel that Paul Pogba is not doing himself any favours with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as well, who really needs him. And he's really backed him as well. And remember, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer used to be the reserve team manager at Manchester United when he was kind of developing into a coach, and Paul Pogba played for him then. So they have a history together, and I just feel at this time when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs like experienced guys, he needs leaders within that locker room, and he's looking at Paul Pogba. I just don't I know he's gone for ankle surgery now, I think it is, but I'm sure if you said that Juve or Real Madrid were in the mix, you're okay to sign for him, he would have walked there by himself. He would have ran there. I just don't think he's giving it, and the Manchester United fans, his all. And that's disappointing for me because I think he's an exceptional talent when he's on his game. But we've seen some performances from him in the last 12 months or so that have been very, very poor, well below par, well below his performance average, which he showed in the World Cup as well.
I think too is that you'd think that his character would be like, I have unfinished business at Manchester United. They brought me back here, need to do this sort of thing and build a team, be part of that. But I'm not sure he has that character. I think he'd bail on anything.
Yeah, it
And
seems
you get
that
a
way.
lot of the guys like them, in the past that have been like that too.
Well, especially nowadays, there's so many distractions off the field for a guy like Paul Pogba. A young guy, he's cool, he's got a lot of interests,
And he's now won the World Cup, so he's
right.
which is obviously brilliant, but there's a lot of things that you would think that he'd want to fulfill.
Yeah,
But I'm not sure he does.
They got 2 or 3 players at Manchester United that I feel are not in the best interests of playing for Manchester United Football Club. As you said, they've got other things going on that they feel are as important. I've spoken before, Manchester United are one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And regardless of whether you're into fashion, music, wherever it is, your job that you're being paid to do and to perform, and you're obliged to perform and represent, is to play for that professional football club, Manchester United. And I don't like to name names, but Paul Pogba is up there. Lingard is up
He's
there
been
as
criticised
well.
a lot
He's been
recently. His
criticised
game's
a lot.
just fallen off a cliff.
He's had to come off of social media because there was certain stuff. And I think they were dragging a couple of players along with them. Now, I see that Manchester United are starting to bring in a couple of younger players as well, hungry players. We've seen Williams as of late. We've seen Greenwood, who's come in and scored goals. And you're starting to see that hunger a little bit better. I'm not saying they're performing at their highest capabilities, but they've definitely introduced a little bit more eagerness to want to play and perform. And they're going to make mistakes as young players, but they have to be given the chance. They have to be given the opportunity. And they've shown well so far.
Who'd have thought that Scott McTominay's become almost more important than Paul Pogba, right? Because he gives a shift. Right now he's hurt, of course. But
well, they're in for
puts
this
a
boy
shift
as
in.
well, aren't they?
Bruno Fernandes?
Bruno Fernandes at Sporting. There's rumours that that's going to go ahead this week. So
Does Ole finish the season at United, do you think?
I don't think so.
He's
I
fired at
hope
some
so,
point this
but
season.
I really don't think so. I think
Really?
But then again, I thought something would have happened over Christmas if they were going to make a move. So maybe
That's
he
what
does.
I thought too.
Poch is waiting in the wings. You're not going to let Poch, if you want Pochettino to come in, you're not going to let him sit and be open to other offers from the likes of Barcelona, whoever it is. There's big
Maybe
clubs.
Man City. I mean, there's talk about Pep
Yeah.
leaving end of the season. Now, if you're Poch, would you rather go to City or United? It's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
So that's the difficult thing for Manchester United. They committed to Ole for the 2, 3, 4 years and saying we need to rebuild. We need to get back to where we are. We need to get our identity back. This is the guy that's going to help us because he's been part of the club. He knows he has a good relationship with Sir Alex Ferguson as well. Or do we chop and change again and keep searching for that person that's going to bring back success?
Should a manager be learning his trade at United, like Ole is? That's the question. Or should he be the finished, polished product?
Well, I mean, obviously there's some debates there. Winning is obviously a cure for that, but if he wouldn't be there now if people like Alex Ferguson didn't believe that he was a really good coach. Who I think that train would have sailed a long time ago, or the boat would have sailed a long time ago. And yeah, so are they looking to have some stability at the club? Give him some time, a lot of time. Alex Ferguson needed time. I mean, he nearly was probably a game away, in his own words, of being getting fired back in the day. So he had some time, and they got to decide on whether they, like you say, I thought if they were going to make the change, they would have done it now, before Christmas. So they're giving him responsibility moving forward at this point and this time anyway. So I think they do like him within, for sure.
Do you think, though, for a manager, be it Poch or Allegri, whoever, do you think the allure of managing Manchester United, the brand, will supersede all the issues with that club? The lack of, a sporting director, the lack of success, all these big-time Charlies making lots of money right now. Will they still be lured by the name of the club as opposed to the actual running of the club?
It's got a massive lure, doesn't it? Massive. And if you're the one that turns that around, look at Klopp.
Yeah.
He's not
It's a
Liverpool,
good example, actually, yeah.
So they have the capability of doing it. It can be done. Yeah, and they'll give them every opportunity to do that.
It's still a pretty good team, really. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's not going to win any trophies, perhaps, or very few trophies, but it's still going to be competing for the top 4 at the moment. And there's talent on that squad right now to build something. I mean, Marcus Rashford's been sensational, right? There's good players. You mentioned Williams, young guys coming through. Defensively, there's issues, but Harry Maguire is a pretty decent player. He's an 80 million pound player. You got Bissaka. Pretty good young player, potential there. So, I mean, there's something there, right? With the right coach. And maybe it is Ole.
You're just chasing something, a standard right now that we're seeing at the top in the last few years is either Man City or Liverpool. They're just in a different stratosphere from everybody else. That's a tough standard to catch. But like I say, it doesn't last forever. So
Kun Aguero, by the way, for City scored his 12th Premier League hat-trick, 16th for City overall, 177 goals, the most goals ever by a foreign player in the Premier League. Beat Henry. Sergio Aguero, is he still underrated a little bit, do you think, outside the game? I mean, I don't know. I just get that impression. To me, I don't know.
Why do you feel he's underrated? Like, who by? The press?
Well, I remember when Henry and when Shearer was scoring goals, right? They were beloved, right? And they got so much press. But maybe it's because he's surrounded by so many other great players. I don't know. But he's got to be looked upon as being, if not the greatest, in the top 3 in Premier League history, hasn't he?
Amazing. Watching him yesterday, just his low center of gravity, his ability on the ball, his decisions where he runs. I mean, everybody on that team is just well in sync with what they're doing. But yeah, they're trying to kick him off the ball, and he just bounces off things. He's a top player. Yeah. Brilliant. I mean, he's been incredible over the years and just consistent with it too.
And big moments as well as just scoring goals, right? The biggest moment, in fact.
Yeah, that was fun that day, wasn't it? Not even from a Man City fan. I'm not a Man City fan, but just the actual.
It's even better watching the Man United fans thinking they won.
Right,
that's even better.
Interesting to note as well. Yesterday, Pep's quotes after the game, where he was asked what makes Aguero so good. And stating the obvious facts and saying he's a poacher in and around the box, he just said he's a great guy. He's a player's guy. He loves playing football. He loves being around his mates. He called it yesterday, Pep Guardiola. And for me, that's a big part. Okay, we can speak about strikers being ruthless and kind of selfish, but when you have a player that's willing to do the work, offer the ball as well. And you remember when Pep come into the club a few years back, everyone was kind of writing Aguero off. They just bought this young boy, Jesus, who was going to come in and replace him. And people were saying Aguero is not Pep's type of player. He's not going to want to do the work, offer the ball. He's not going to want to press. Well, Aguero's bought into Pep's philosophy, and I think that's kind of moved him on even higher in my estimations because he's adjusted. He's still getting his chances. He's still getting his goals. He's working for the team. Can he play every game, week in, week out? No. Pep said that. He said he's had these struggles with injuries. But to be the top foreign goal scorer in the Premier League is a very, very high...
He's also a guy that...
Thierry Henry we're talking about here.
Yeah, I know, precisely.
Thierry Henry, who's, in my opinion, one of the best strikers that I've ever seen play on a football field to witness. And Aguero has surpassed him.
So would you? Okay, so say you're picking your all-time greatest team, right? And you can pick one striker, right? So obviously you got your Shearers maybe, or your Henrys, your Agueros, maybe a Rooney might slide in there. Some people's votes. Who from an English Premier League player I'm talking about here?
Yeah.
Who are you picking? Are you picking Aguero over Henry, over Shearer, or do they still have that lure?
I don't think you can go wrong with any of them.
I know that's not the question though.
Well, yeah.
You can't go wrong. You're right. There's not a wrong answer.
No.
Howard, personally, who would you pick as a goalkeeper? Who would you fear
In
more
my-
coming towards you or in the area?
Different for different reasons. Though. I mean, Shearer probably played against Shearer certainly the most out of any of those guys, and he potted his fair few goals as well against me. But out and out, like just incredible finisher, Shearer. Strong, powerful. If I was going to pick any of those guys, I would still take Shearer. Tough to play against.
He would will the ball in the net, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. And then, some of the more difficult guys, I always say the difficult players to play against were the big, tall players that we used to see, like Deitch more, so the 80s, 90s were very direct. They were tough to play against,
Yeah, in a different way, right? But
in a
very
different
tough.
way, because like Henri or Aguero types coming in on you, Klinsmans of the world, they're going to just tuck it in the corner, and it doesn't necessarily make you look bad. They're just good finishers.
Right.
But the big guys coming in and clouting you and trying to bundle you and play rugby with, it's basically rugby without your hands.
When you talk about Shearer though, like for me, Shearer could score a goal any different way. He
Yeah.
could score with his right foot, his left foot, inside the box, outside of the box. He used to hit screamers. He could score with his head. He was very brave with his head. So for me, looking
Good penalty
at a
taker,
striker, good penalty, free kick taker as well. He was an all-round striker that I looked up to as a young English boy as well, and said, this is as close to the perfect striker as we're ever going to produce. And then you had the likes of Dennis Bergkamp come through, who, like, when watching him, it was like magical. It's like watching Messi now. Dennis was 2-3 steps ahead of everyone else. When you watched him in a game, his movement, his anticipation, just his game intelligence was wonderful to watch. And then, as you've said, like Thierry Henry and Aguero now, they're very, very clever players in and around the box. They link the play very well. So it's just been a progression of how an evolution of how the strikers are now become, and it's wonderful to see, especially if you're a young striker now, to see these different mix of strikers. Because as Craig said, back in the day, me growing up, I didn't really have any kind of mentors that I would look at and go, oh yeah, I can kind of model my game on him. It's just like big man, little man
That's
up
what
top,
and
I was the
it's
big
expected,
man.
right? Yeah.
So,
Was there ever a point though? When was that point when you thought, okay, I'm a good player. I know what I'm good at, but I could never be that. I can't be Alan Shearer. I can't be Henry. Is there a point in a professional's career when, and I say this all the respect in the world because you both had excellent careers, when you realise, I'm good, I'm really good, but I'm not going to be that good.
I think that's the key for any young professional player, is knowing what you're good at. The moment that you're starting to try to be someone else is the moment that you're going to lose kind of your understanding of where you can get to. There's no point in me thinking that I could dribble like Messi when that was not my game. But if there was a ball to be played up and I had to hold off 2 defenders to link
You're
the
better
play
than
for the
Messi.
attacking mids, I was more proficient at doing that than probably Messi is. So there's different profiles, and the understanding in trying to get that through to younger players and saying, listen, you're excellent at taking people on 1v1. You're not very good at crossing. So try and maybe release the ball a little bit earlier. Or you're very good at finishing in and around the box. So we're going to try and progress the ball up to you so that we can get the ball into you in the 18-yard box.
Know your limitations,
Know
basically.
your limitations.
Yeah.
Work on stuff that you need to work on for sure, whether it be your weak foot, whether it be your heading, whether it be your first touch. But know your strong points and keep working at that, because that's going to progress you, and that's going to highlight you to either coaches watching or people, GMs wanting to give you contracts, and really, really focus on that, because that is a big part of your game that you've been noticed and that you are going to progress.
Yeah. It's interesting. I wonder though, if you look at your careers, and was there that point when you realised, I'm good, I'm not Shearer, I'm not whatever, but I could still play a part in the great United teams of the late 90s. If I was on that team, I'd score a crap load of goals, or I could Schmeichel's brilliant. We know he's brilliant, but I could still win a championship with that team in front of me.
Sure.
Must have been, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you have to have a belief in yourself as well, and you could play a part. I mean, remember Dion Dublin? He went to Manchester United.
That's a good point.
And he's not really your Manchester United type, you wouldn't think. But playing to your strengths, you can do a job for somebody. And Danny's right. Yes, absolutely. Not everybody. It doesn't matter. You can always have a dream of being like Messi or Ronaldo, but realistically, that's not going to happen. And you have to work really hard on your weaknesses, build yourself, but again, know what your strengths are, and like Danny says, play to those, and as much as you possibly can, and bring your best to that, and try to participate and help your team in any way you can.
Talking about last week, the FA Cup, I think it was Port Vale played against Man City. Did you see the quotes from the striker?
No, I didn't see it.
Tom Pope, I think his name was. So he must have been watching a game last year in the Champions League, and he tweeted out something like, he was hammering John Stones. He was having a little bash at him, saying, Jesus Christ, if I played against John Stones week in, week out, I'd score 40 goals.
Oh, I did hear this actually.
Yeah, so then he played against him in the FA Cup, and I think City won 4-1. But this fella scored an equaliser for Port Vale. And he tweeted out afterwards, he said, my apologies for my tweet mid-season, that I said I would score 40-plus goals playing against John Stones week in, week out. It was a mistake. I'd scored 50.
I like that.
So apparently, like, he got a little bit of stick over it. And
But there must be that player, right, you played with who thought he was much better than he really was.
Oh, there's hundreds of them.
Yeah? And he's like, oh, geez, guy, give yourself a shake. You're not that good.
Yeah.
It must just drive you crazy, right? Don't stop trying to beat three guys.
Yeah.
When you can't do it.
It's good for banter in the dressing room.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah.
Who was that guy for you?
I'm trying to think. Who's better? Who thought they were better than they were? Me. No,
the crap you took in that room.
Yeah, the crap. Yeah, it's all their fault. It's all your fault.
I think with younger players as well, it's an understanding of not being negative in trying to take their confidence away from them, but also bringing the reins back on them a little bit to try and make them understand, look, these are your strengths, as Craig was saying. This is what you're very, very good at. Yes, we can always improve at that, but don't try to start thinking you can do other stuff, which is going to probably hinder your career. So you want them to have the confidence, you want them to have the belief that they can score 30, 40 goals a year, for sure. But also try to make them understand or buy into how they're going to get possibly 20, 25, and possibly 30 by, as we've spoken about, by Klopp, buying into the team's overall objectives and not just being stuck on your personal goals or your individual goals, which is hard for a striker because strikers are very selfish in the sense that my goal tally...
you are judged on that.
Yeah, you're judged.
Simple
And
as
that's
that.
what you're paid the big money for as well.
I mean, defenders would be the same if you had a centre back that thought he was really good on the ball.
Big time. I think defenders were even worse than strikers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're all wannabe strikers, defenders. That's why they got moved back, midfielders and then defenders.
Come on, and then goalkeepers.
And then goalkeepers. All the goalkeepers used to play up front. If we had more goalkeepers in the five-a-side game, we used to stick them up top, and they were not bad. By the way.
I've heard that before. Edwin van der Sar, right? They're saying he could have been a Premier League goal striker had he, have chosen that position. He was that good.
Yeah. Big Crouchy.
Yeah.
I like to see Craig play up top.
I nearly got on back when they, you only had 3 subs and you had a goalkeeper sub.
Yeah.
And they ran out of, they had no more players. That
For
was
West
the
Ham?
last one. No, it was Ipswich back in the day. And I stood on the sideline, had my jersey on, like
Were you
ready
just
to go
waiting
on up
for it?
front. Oh my God, I was so excited. Somebody went down injured. I was like, oh, here we go. This is going to be unbelievable.
That's
and then
brilliant.
they got off the ground and I think they couldn't even walk, but they're like, that's better than you going on.
Those were the days when we didn't even have a goalkeeper on the bench. You just had one goalkeeper, and I went in goal
Well, you
a
could
couple
take,
of times.
right? You could have 3.
You could have 3,
It could
but
be
you
anybody
could
you
choose,
wanted.
yeah.
But a lot of times, why would you have a goalkeeper? Because the chances of that ever happening. But if it did, then the other player had to go in net.
Yeah,
Well,
I went
before-
in net a couple of times.
Did you really?
Yeah,
Oh,
late on in games. So like it was either an injury or something. I don't know. Went on.
But isn't that's cool? Didn't you?
Oh, I loved it.
I loved it, right?
So were your opponents like you just saw their eyes light up, like they're going to shoot from
Yeah.
everywhere, right? I
Oh, you're
see
gonna.
'em.
you're
It
gonna
wasn't
test
because
it.
I was good with my hands, right? It was just because I was the biggest guy. Like,
Yeah.
they weren't going to put
You know, Pesci-
5'3"
Paul
Pesci on.
Pesci. He was.
They put him in.
He was a good goalkeeper. He wasn't bad. Like in
Some of those
training,
little, the
he
small
wasn't
fellas
bad.
can be, right? Pele was Brazil's backup goalkeeper, right? In the great Brazil teams before subs, Pele was the backup. Then I'm not sure if he saw game time, but apparently he was incredible in goal, and so is Wayne Rooney.
Yeah,
I've read about that. He's just brilliant in
Yeah,
between
I've
the
seen
sticks.
some clips of him.
Yeah.
See, everybody wanted goalkeepers want to be strikers. Strikers want to be goalkeepers.
But had you got on the field though, what would you just be like lump it for and just get right in the box and cause a skirmish?
yeah,
That-
yeah. Put it in the mixer.
You're just dying for it, right?
Diagonal. Put it in the mixer. I'll get my head on it.
That's great.
I wanted to score. Really wanted to score. Came close for Canada once or twice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just hoofing it forward.
West Ham, actually, White Hart Lane, too. I had a decent header that was clear off
Oh,
the
we're
line.
going to try and get them clips.
Gonna
We're
say,
gonna try and
really,
get these
that'd
clips.
be incredible, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, fellas, we're out of time, right? Spike Edney. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, listen, that's fun getting back at it.
Yes.
I am away next week,
Okay.
but I'm sure these guys will figure it out somehow.
I have to get Ed as the host.
Maybe, yeah. Listen, follow us on all things social: Twitter, _Prime, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, Footy Prime, the podcast. Let us know your thoughts anytime at footyprimepodcast@gmail.com. Our thanks, as always, to our hosts here, Eggplant Picture and Sound, and our home away from home, thedeanblundell.com. All right. Thanks, boys and girls, for listening.
you.
Thank you, fellas, and we'll be back very shortly. Cheers for listening.